Hi, I'm Joe with C&J Goods. Today we're building the small accessory pouch. Here's some examples all ready to go. This is a good size for things like earbuds or dice or coins, dog treats, keys, whatever you need to carry. This one has the snap loop on the back. This can be run either direction, so you can carry it both on a belt or snap it over the strap of another larger bag, or you're going to do the belt loop style. I've got instructions for both on this pattern. First one we're going to build is this one, and I'll show you how to make the snap loop, because just doing the square on the back is pretty darn easy. So we aren't going to get into building all the different ways, just with the belt loop, and then I'll show you how to make the snap loop really quick. So what I have in the way of tools are hole punch, setters for the rivets and the snaps. I've got a button stud closure that I'm going to use, so I've got my pliers and a screwdriver to help with that. Thread for the sides, thread lock, again for the button stud because it screws together. All my little metal bits are in this one, and then I have my leather as well as an X-Acto and ruler. Okay, so the leather I've picked today, this is going to be for the snap loop and for the belt loop. This is a thicker hide. It's cow leather. It's got a stiff hand, so you can see the bend there isn't very easy to fold flat. This is about a, I'd say 4 or 5 thickness. This is just nice and sturdy and will hold itself with a good shape for being a loop and everything. This is the leather I have for the pouch itself. It's not a very big piece, which is great because this pattern isn't very big in and of itself. Again, this is a little bit stiffer. The fold is a little bit harder to do, press flat. This is a much thinner leather. This is more like a 2-3, or if you're doing millimeters, probably about maybe 3 millimeters thick. So yeah, let's clear the decks and get started. First thing I'm going to do is cut out all the pieces for the pattern. I like to use a ruler with a foam or cork back so it sticks better to the surface it's on and won't slide away as easily. And I like to use hobby knives to cut things out. Before I'm going to cut out my holes, I'm going to talk about this pattern really quick and the different parts of it. This is the flap here, closing the pouch. This is actually the back area attached to the flap. This piece is going to be along the bottom of the pouch, and this is the face of the pouch. So the face right now is upside down. When this goes together, these are all going to be folded evenly in to make the sides. I'm going to point out some of the holes here. I've got these holes are marked as rivets. This is for a closure, and that's for the closure as well. You're going to punch these holes not very big. They're to make the fold easier in the corner when you do this fold in here. And these notches will actually be really helpful to at least cut out of the paper, if not the leather itself. You don't want to cut these until you've done some other things like punch the holes in your leather. There's a couple reasons for that. We'll get into it later. Punch my holes, I'm going to fold this in half since it's a symmetrical pattern to make my life a little bit faster and easier putting this together. With this pattern piece, you'll notice that this hole is closer to this end and that one is to that end. Because it's a snap loop, it'll be easier to grab the longer tail. So this is going to be the top part and this is going to be the bottom. You can't fold this one in half and get those holes to mark. So these two pieces will work in conjunction together, and this will work on its own with the main pattern body. So you got to choose here which one you're actually going to do to make one pouch. So in this tutorial I'm going to show you this one, but I'll also show you how to make the snap loop, just so you have an example of that. So let's transfer the pattern to the leather. And keep the ruler on the part of the pattern I want to keep, So if the knife goes sideways, I'm not cutting through the good part of my pattern. Here's my hardware. I'm using 2-part rivets. I'm going to be stitching along these lines with my thread here. This is waxed cotton fabric or cotton thread. It's black underneath the beeswax. These are my turn corners, so I'll probably use the same size I'm using for my thread holes, which is the smallest one I've got on my circular punch. I'm going to start with my thread stitches. So all my outer holes here, from that one in the middle out, are going to be the stitching. Next, I'm going to do my rivet holes. I like to pick a size that's just slightly smaller diameter as my rivets, so that when I put them in, they'll stay stuck in the leather a little bit and won't fall out. So that's about the right size. This is my button stud. It's a 2-piece, threads together. This hole is about the same size as my rivet, so I'm going to make sure that my catch side, which is this hole along the front front face of the pouch, is going to be that size hole. This guy, what you want to do is just catch on that hole, and then you cut a slit so it fits over the head of the button, catches on the body, and won't pull off very easily. So like with this one, that hole is just big enough to get around the head and hold on. And of course the pressure is going to go up, generally when it has stuff in it. Last step before I attach anything is I'm going to cut these slots so that it can actually fold in the corners. Because remember, this is getting folded along this side. We're going to cut from these holes out to where these notches are marked. Easiest way to do that, get your ruler on there. Have a line up between the hole and the edge. It's a nice clean cut, goes all the way through to the hole. And as a little bit extra cleanup, since this is going to get folded like that in the end, I like to take the corner off. Sharp corners tend to get lifted more, which is why the end of my button snap loop here, or my snap loop, has the edges cut off, so the corners are not squared off. You can always cut a circle that does the same thing, nothing's going to lift particularly and bend. So just going to take a corner off like that without getting too close to the stitch hole. As for these notches here, the idea is when the thread catches these, it's going to give it a little spot to rest in. So I'm going to also take my hole punch here and catch that. You can also, if you're not feeling as brave with the hole punch, take your X-Acto and cut that off. Let's get the belt loop done. There's my rivet hole already set to go. And then for my snap loop, the catch part here is the same size as my rivet. So that's the shorter end I'm going to do first. And then this is for the cap side. A little bit bigger in diameter. So I'm going to go for my biggest size hole. First I'm going to do is throw my rivets in here. Get them ready to go. I'm doing the post face down. This is the inside of my pouch. And then I'm going to get this ready. So, as a belt loop, what you want to do is you want to take the good side, facing the good side of your body, and you're going to have it flap to flap here. So you're only going to do these two rivets first when you hammer them. Because once I hammer those, I'm going to fold this over, and I don't want to get the hammer indentation, all the hardware indentation tooling and things on this leather. So first I'm going to attach these. Since these are 2-part rivets, they get a little snap when they're put together. And fold down, make sure you have the right size. Now I'm ready to fold this piece down, so it's fitting on those 2 rivets. Button stud. That's where my screw's gonna go. I've got a little bit of thread lock here to keep this from unscrewing on me later. Last thing I forgot to do was cut the notch for the head of the button stud. Let's get the snaps on there. Notice that both of these are face up, so when I loop it together, go together like that. This loop is great for using for other accessories too. If you have something else you want to attach to a belt or to a purse, just throw that on there. Again, that's a little bit longer so you can get your thumb underneath there and pull it free. To make life easy, we're going to do 1, 2, 3 times length of the open pouch, just so you have enough thread you can actually work with and maneuver. We're doing the saddle stitch, so these are my harness needles. They are not sharp, they will not run you through. And because this is so heavily waxed, I like to flatten it out and run it through the head. And just fold it back. I'm going to hold one of these needles and run it through 3 holes. First what I'm going to do is from the inside out on the bottom. Remember, this part makes the bottom of the pouch. Then I'm going to take that same needle and go from the inside out through the back portion, this first hole in the bottom, and then I'm going to go through the front piece. So you get this little zigzag there. And then I'm going to pull it tight. You'll notice all these pieces want to come together like that. So your back piece goes on top of your bottom middle, and then your front piece goes on top of both of those. So now I have one thread on the outside. I'm going to switch to the inside needle. I'm going to go up to the next hole here. Now you notice that notch is going to make it easier for it to pull this piece to center. It's going to hold it there. And then I'm going to go to the next one up on the front piece. So now I have both needles on the outside here. And if I pull them together and center them, you're halfway through your first stitch. It gets easier from here because everything now is lined up and ready to stitch through. I'm going to be consistent about where I put my needle. So I'm putting it on the back part of this and going in through both holes. And pulling tight. I'm still holding that inside thread because I'm going to use this one to stitch again. So we're going to go inside out. If you're already familiar with doing saddle stitch, you are more than welcome to do this. Both needles through the hole at the same time. I'm trying to make this easy for beginners to see. Things you want to avoid is piercing your own thread. So again, go from the inside out where you can. And then switch needles. Here's how I like to finish this pouch off. I'm going to hide my knot in between these flaps here. So instead of having a knot on the obvious on the inside or not obvious on the outside, kind of like that's an obvious knot on the outside, I'm going to hide it between these 2 pieces here. The way I'm going to do that is with both the inside needle and the outside needle. I'm going to go through, just so for inside needle first, I'm going to go from the inside, aiming towards the back there, so the needle comes out between the 2 pieces of leather. So for the outside one, again, just going to pierce it through so it goes through like that. So you're going to have double stitch on the inside and on the outside. And then I'm just going to do a square knot here. Right over left, left over right. And cut them free. That's one half the pouch done. Start on the inside. Go to the back piece. Go to the front piece. On the inside, I'm going to go through the back piece, then the front piece. And there you have a finished pouch. Functional button stud helps it open and close quietly. Belt loop so you can fit on most size belts. And then I've also shown you the snap loop in case you want to do the square back instead. You can see what's cool about this one is you can run it sideways or up and down. And this piece here fits on so that this is slightly larger where the holes are and it's forced to bubble up so it's easier to run the snap loop through. Because if it was flush, it wouldn't work so good. And you can also personalize this piece in a couple of different ways. One example is changing from thread to a nice suede cord. You can even punch some extra holes in it. Give it a funky little shape and personality. Change the flap entirely by stitching on a new piece. So you can have different colors showing. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, please email us. Thank you.